The Apotheosis of Julius Caesar. Yet he, even so, had come from overseas to join our shrines. But Caesar is a god in his own city here. He was supreme in war and peace, though not his great campaigns triumphantly concluded, nor his feats achieved at home, his glory gained so fast, made him a star, a comet new in heaven, rather his son. For nothing he achieved was greater than to sire this son of his, to tame the Britons in their sea-girt isle, to sail victorious up the seven-mouthed Nile, where the papyrus blows, to annex for Rome Numidia's rebel tribesmen and their king, Juba and Pontus, bloated with the fame of mighty Mithridates, to exult in triumphs and deserve so many more. Fine feats indeed, but how can they compare with being father of so fine an heir, under whose sovereignty mankind is given such plenteous blessings by the powers of heaven? Lest therefore he be born of mortal seed, his father must be made divine. And this Aeneas' golden mother had perceived also the tragic death prepared for her high priest, that armed conspiracy. She paled in fear, and said to all the gods, as she met each, "See what pernicious plots are piled against me. See the treachery that seeks the only life that's left to me of Trojan Iülus' stock. Shall I alone be always torn with troubles all too real? I, wounded by the lance of Diomede, confounded when great Troy's defences failed, who saw my dear son forced to roam so far, tossed on the seas, and visiting the abodes of the dark silent shades, and waging war with Turnus, or, in fact, if truth be told, with Juno. Why recall now ancient wrongs that racked my family? This fear of mine forbids the memory of former griefs. Look, do you see? They whet their wicked knives. Prevent them, I beseech you. Stop this crime, nor ever by the blood of her high priest extinguish Vesta's flame. To no avail, distracted Venus cried her loud alarms all over heaven. The gods were moved, but none can break the ancient sisters' iron decrees. Yet they gave portents unmistakable of future sorrows, battles in the clouds with clash of arms and horns heard in the sky, and trumpets sounding fear foretold the crime. The sun's face too in grief shed lurid light upon the troubled lands. Among the stars firebrands were often seen to flare and flame, and from black rain clouds drops of blood would fall. The star of dawn shone dim, his features blotched with black and crimson. Blood blotches obscured the chariot of the moon. The Stygian owl in countless places cried his dirge of doom. In countless places ivories shed tears, and voices chanting menaces were heard in sacred groves. No victim could avail. The liver's lobe was found cut through, the guts foretold vast turmoils looming. In the squares, and round men's houses, in the holy shrines, dogs barked all night, and silent ghosts were seen walking abroad, and earthquakes shook the streets. Even so, the gods' forewarnings failed to foil the treason and defeat the march of fate. Into the sacred edifice drawn swords were brought. For that foul crime, that bloody deed, in the whole city no fit place sufficed except the Senate house. Then Cytherea with both hands beat her breast, and strove to hide that scion of Aeneas in a cloud, as once in days gone by Paris had been rescued from Menelaus, his fierce foe, and as Aeneas had escaped the sword of Diomede. To her the father spoke, "Child, do you mean by your sole self to move unconquerable fate? You are allowed to enter the three sisters' dwelling. There a giant fabric forged of steel and bronze will meet your eyes, the archives of the world, that fear no crash of heaven, no lightning's wrath, nor any cataclysm, standing safe to all eternity. And there you'll find engraved on everlasting adamant the fortunes of your line. I read them there myself, and stored them in my memory. And I'll declare them that you may not still labor in ignorance of things to come."